Another story, efforts by the Attorney General to retrieve the 51.2 million cedis wrongfully paid businessman Alfred Agbeshi Woyome hit yet another snag on Monday. Lawyers for the businessman have for the third time this year filed an application seeking to halt his oral examination by the AG. The examination is to identify his assets which could be sold to offset the debt. In his fresh application, Mr. Woyome wants the court to rule that the examination cannot proceed due to his pending suit filed at the African Court on Human and People's Rights. There is more in the following report.
The month of October saw the case adjourned twice, once due to an application filed, with another as a result of the businessman being unwell. Deputy AG Godfred Yeboah-Dame is on record to have registered his displeasure with what he described as ploys to delay repayment of the money to the state. On Monday, Mr. Woyome was once again absent. Lawyers on both sides were called out to meet Soja Justice Benin in chambers. After a marathon meeting, they emerged with an announcement that the hearing had been adjourned. His latest application wants the oral examination to be put on hold due to a pending suit at the African Court on Human and People's Rights. Mr. Woyome initiated the action after the International Chamber of Commerce threw out his petition seeking to overturn the 2014 Supreme Court of Ghana judgment ordering that he repays the state. He has so far paid 4 million cedis, leaving 47.2 million cedis outstanding. His lawyers are expected to move the new motion on November 21.
Elsewhere, the WA Circuit Court Monday adjourned the trial of the former head teacher of the Pieng Basic School, who is accused of defiling a primary 3 pupil in his former school. At Monday's proceedings, medical director of the St. Joseph's Hospital testified and got cross-examined. He said the said defilement happened in March 2016. Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam has the rest of the report.
Medical director of the Jireba St. Joseph's Hospital, Dr. Wuda Semerichi, took his stand on the witness box on the in-camera hearing of the alleged defilement of 10-year-old primary 3 pupil by her former head teacher, Wia Yuga Mumuni. Dr. Wuda Semi told the court that the victim was brought to his facility on the 14th of April 2017 for medical examination. He thoroughly examined the victim's anal region, where he found the anus to be intact and fine. There was no semen when he did the high vaginal swab. Pregnancy and HIV/AIDS tests were conducted on the victim, and both turned out to be negative. Cross-examining the witness, lawyer for the accused person, Bogoluru Luanga, suggested to the witness the fact that there was neither bruises nor lacerations on the outer vagina of the victim clearly showed that the victim was not sexually abused. The witness, in his response, stated that the outer vagina may have been intact and normalized after some time due to repetitive penetration. Hearing of the case was adjourned to Tuesday, November 14, 2017, where the prosecution is expected to bring one more witness. The accused person, however, is still on his former bail. Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam.
First-year students of Jirapa Senior High School in the Upper West region commute almost 3 kilometers daily from one campus to the other to attend classes. The long commute often leaves the students tired and sleepy in class. Teachers are also said to arrive in class late and are compelled to truncate classes each time they have to attend Nature's Call. Here's Rafiq Salam's report.
Right from its establishment some 23 years ago, the Jireba Senior High School has not been without challenges. Key among them is its infrastructure. Classrooms, dormitories, and other facilities are really inadequate. Even though the relocation of the school to a new site, almost 2 kilometers from the old site, has not changed the situation. And this infrastructural gap has been deepened by the increase in the number of admitted students through the free HHS. 495 new students were placed at the school by the computerized school placement system, increasing the total population to 1,164. Saboro Salima is a first-year student of the school. On a daily basis, she walks at most 3 kilometers from the new campus to the old one to attend classes.
We, the general students, we are suffering, so we have to move from here to the West campus. So by the time we get there, we are almost tired. So when the teacher is in class, some of us will be sleeping.
This is a difficult situation. These children get really tired before they start classes. Tiredness can be a real thief of classroom concentration. When this happens, academic performance gets seriously threatened.
We pity our boys. Every day they will walk 35 minutes up, 35 minutes down, just to dress up, then come back for preps. When we close from preps, 9:30, by 10:30 something, they will go down there. Then when they get down there, they will sleep. They will not get enough chance to rest. Then they are up here again. You see most of them sleeping in class just because they are tired. Government, they should just come and help us.
Headmistress of the school, Mary Assumpta, lamented that enough infrastructure was not put up at the new campus before the students were moved there.
Once it was started down there and they moved up here, there has not been provision of enough infrastructure to bring all the students up at once. And that is why some are still there and some are up here. But we are hoping that the government will come to our aid, put all the needed infrastructure at the East Campus, and move students from the West Campus up.
Senior housemaster of the school, Ambulai Kalistus Bayo, says the situation has also made teaching and supervision of the students difficult at the school.
It is actually very, very difficult, particularly in the nights when we have entertainment. The masters on duty have to run down there to go from room to room, and sometimes when you are going, because even down there it is not fenced, so they run into town. So it's actually very, very difficult. And sometimes we have to go around to conduct Roko. So when they realize that the master is coming, they run into the bush.
Another worrying development at the school is a lack of toilet facility for the boys. The situation has forced them to attend nature's call on a hill, who serve as an abode for reptiles and snakes. Our camera captured this first-year student, Bayo Abdul Gafaru, who has to abandon a program at the school's dining hall when he had a stomach upset and decided to run to the hill to ease himself.
Always, if I went there, I always saw snake there.
So you still don't have fear that you still continue to go there?
I have fear. I have fear. So that they should come and give us the toilet.
Headmistress Mary Assumpta says it is becoming increasingly difficult to run the school in the face of the complex challenges. The school has several uncompleted projects dotted all over the campus. The situation in this school is similar to many others I have seen here in the Upper West region. Though school authorities hail the free HHS policy, their praise is almost doused by the enormous constraints they are forced to work within. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Jiraba.
Watching Joy News from, we're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. President Akufo-Addo launches yet another national sanitation campaign and directs ministries, departments and agencies to appoint sanitation marshals to enforce compliance of sanitation laws. Also in the bulletin, minority MPs paint gloomy picture of the Ghanaian economy and warn the country would experience extreme hardship next year as a result of the Akufo-Addo-led government's poor management of the economy, but the majority side is countering this. We have all that and more coming up. Stay tuned. President Akufo-Addo has directed ministries, departments and agencies, as well as the seats of government, to appoint 2 officers to act as sanitation marshals to enforce compliance of laws on sanitation. Launching the National Sanitation Program in Accra, the president threatened sanctions against ministers and chief executives who failed to act on the directive. He attributed the insanitary conditions in the country to indiscipline on the part of some Ghanaians, but assured of logistics and policies to make Ghana the cleanest country in Africa.
We must all recognize that indiscipline has been a major cause of the unsanitary situation in most parts of the country. It is not in our nature as Ghanaians to be dirty. We keep our immediate surroundings and our homes very clean. However, for one reason or the other, when we step out of these immediate surroundings, we seem to ignore all of these positive attitudes. Successive Ghanaian governments have tried to reverse this trend and inculcate a habit of greater discipline in the care of our surroundings. It has not succeeded. My government intends to make a fresh start. Waste is generated every day. We have an obligation to keep our environment clean every day. We have to do so daily and not on a monthly basis. Every day is Sanitation Day. As we lead by example, every government department and agency, including the seat of government, is assigning 2 officers to be designated sanitation marshal and deputy marshal to oversee compliance of their outfits and their staff to the laid down laws with regard to sanitation in their respective offices. Ministers, chief executives, and chief directors of government departments and agencies will be held accountable for any lapses in the failure to comply with this directive.
Well, government in the coming days also intends to establish a National Sanitation Authority and a dedicated fund to run it. Sanitation Minister Kofi Adda says several landfill sites have been identified to deal with waste management. In a related development, Member of Parliament for Clotilde constituency, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings, wants government to prioritize the provision of at least 1 toilet in every household to end open defecation and help improve the sanitation situation in the country. Dr. Zaneto also called for a change in attitude among Ghanaians in waste management and the need for government to make waste bins accessible to the people to help deal with the insanitary conditions. She, however, advised it will be difficult to improve the sanitation situation if government fails to inculcate in the people the need for proper waste disposal in the communities, towns and villages.
I think it's a joint effort. It's a collaboration between the government of Ghana and the people, as well as private entities. And we shouldn't think that it can be done by one section alone. But then the attitudes are important as well. If we're not going to change the way we behave towards the environment, no policy, no level of enforcement will be enough. We also need to look at what we're doing. We can actually make use of the waste that we produce if we know how. The Gamma project is great because it's a World Bank project that says that in terms of the funding for the toilets in a household, it's going to be part funded. So people don't have to pay the full amount to have that done. Furthermore, we're looking at a payment plan. That means that people are not paying more than they can afford to pay to own a toilet. And if you consider how much money people spend a day, in a month, in a year on using public toilets, if they could spend half of that over a couple of years to own a toilet in their own homes, that means that once they own it, they don't have to use a public toilet. That means that in terms of safety and hygiene, that's all in their home now. And then you don't have problems where children can't make it to the toilet on time because now they have a toilet in their own home. This is important. Every household must have a toilet, at least a toilet. So in saying that every household is going to have a toilet, it's to say that the minimum should be a toilet, one at least. We really appeal to the Department of the Waste Department and the AMA, as well as the relevant authorities, to support communities that are actually doing their bit to clean waste.
Ghana ranks lowest in sanitation levels among all lower middle-income countries. According to UNICEF, Ghana is second to South Sudan when it comes to poor sanitation in Africa. Though various governments have formulated sanitation policies to improve the situation, nothing much has changed. Now, let's take a look at some of the interventions made by previous governments. So, in January 2004, former President John Agyekum Kufuor announced that a national sanitation policy would become operational that year, with emphasis on 4 main components: inspection, compliance, enforcement, hygiene, education, and pest control. Not much was achieved. Then President Kufuor then said no matter how much resources were put into the cleaning of towns and cities, the problems will not go away unless citizens change their habits. Now, not much has changed about that. That fact still remains that it will require citizens to change their habits if it is to achieve any effective campaigns. Now, in 2008 election campaign, President Mills then promised to make sanitation a priority if elected as president. As part of his first 100 days in office, he reiterated his commitment and said he was going to use that period to clean the country, especially Accra. That exercise, however, turned out to be what you can call a 9-day wonder. The insanitary conditions rather worsened, so that objective, it turned out, failed on that note. And then in November 2014, President John Mahama promised to install liquid and solid waste treatment plants in major cities to manage the filth. On 1st November 2014, Ghanaians, led by the president, did a cleanup of the environment after he declared the 1st November National Sanitation Day. Now, since then, we've had a number of National Sanitation Day, but we're still talking about filthy environment here in Accra especially. In July 2015, government finally imposes a ban on light plastic materials, such as ones used in packaging, sugar, gari, and porridge. The ban was supposed to take effect from November 1, 2015. Well, it didn't quite take effect, as you may have come to realize. And then in August 2017, there was a draft policy to establish a National Sanitation Authority. That draft policy was completed. Water Resources, Works and Housing Minister Kofi Ada. Well, at this point, we're still working on it. Probably that's the outcome of today's announcement by the president and the talk of the appointment of 2 sanitation marshals in agencies across the country. Now, we're joined via Skype by Vice Chairman of the Coalition of NGOs in Water and Sanitation. He's Yao Atta Ahing, and we're going to be discussing why the country is failing to improve sanitation in spite of the several interventions we have seen that have been put in place. Thank you very much, Mr. Yao Atta Ahing, for making time to join us. Now, what is it that we're not doing right as far as sanitation is concerned?
Thank you very much. I think that we are doing certain things right. Of course, we are not doing certain things right. In terms of development of the blueprint, the policy documents, we are doing very well. We have all the documents, we have all the strategies and the programs. What we are not doing well is the fact that we are not implementing the strategies we ourselves have invested in developing. We are not allocating adequate resources, for the implementation of these strategies. We are not also giving sanitation the priority that it deserves. And that is the results that we have. Mahatma Gandhi said that sanitation is more important than political independence. And that should tell you the severity of the problem if we fail to tackle the sanitation situation in this country.
Now, Mr. Ahing, let's just go back a few years and look at what we sought to do with the Declaration of National Sanitation Day. Why is it that it wasn't that effective?
I think that, you see, whenever you are coming out with a project, we expect to see the blueprint, look at the indicators, want to see, the activities that you want to undertake and all that. The National Sanitation Day, let me admit, was a good one. It was a specific project which was targeted at getting the consciousness of Ghanaians to be able to come to the realization that they need to adopt good sanitation practices. We couldn't, follow it through because of our attitudes and our behavior. It would take some time for us to be able to change that. Until that is changed, no matter the program or project that you introduce, you need the support of Ghanaians. And if you don't get that, then you may not derive the maximum, benefit from the project that you introduce.
Mr. Ahing, what would it take to bring about the attitudinal change you're talking about? What would it take for us to change our attitudes when it comes to littering the environment or observing personal hygiene?
at today's program, one speaker made a very important point. I think it was a UNICEF representative. And she gave an example about Bangladesh. Bangladesh was able to eliminate open defecation within 15 years. And she talked about the desire for change by the citizens themselves. When they realized that sanitation is killing children, sanitation is a disgrace to the nation, the desire for change. Then leadership and strong commitment. And then also committing the resources targeted at supporting the poor. And then also increasing the level of accountability. I mean, we don't have this in Ghana. This is what is lacking for me, especially the leadership angle. Because people do everything they want to do and get away with it. We see people defecating in the open. I have gone to places where I have seen authorities looking on while people are defecating in the open and they are unable to arrest them. Until we are able to crack the whip, people will continue to go scot-free when they do the wrong. And then they will go away with it.
Now that sounds to me like enforcement of the law. And why are we unable to do that? I would want to believe that it's as simple as that.
My brother, I'm sure you know why we are unable to do that. If you take politics, I mean, our political structure is saying that when people do the wrong things, they find solace in political authority. And so those who want to even arrest and prosecute these offenders are sanctioned. And so they are also, I mean, mindful to keep quiet. They are unable to take action that they are mandated to take. This is what is killing this country. If people will do the wrong things and get punished for it, I believe that very soon, Ghana will become a very sanitized society. Otherwise, if people do the wrong things and they can go away with it, nothing will stop.
Ms. Ahin, does it then mean that this new initiative that the president is talking about, the appointment of 2 officers to act as sanitation marshals to enforce compliance of laws on sanitation, does it mean we're not going to get anywhere with that?
No, I think it is a way of enforcement. I mean, the president talked about sanitation marshals, I mean, and the deputy in every government department. He also talked about the sanitation brigade, which is going to operate like the traditional town councils that we knew. I mean, this is a form of introducing some enforcement. And if you are able to get this enforcement done, I tell you, I mean, Ghanaians do not want to be punished for anything that they do. If they do the wrong things and they get punished for it, I tell you, they will stop. Everywhere in this world, people want to do the wrong things. But when they know that the sanctions are severe, then they are mindful to stop that kind of action.
All right, thank you very much. That was Mr. Yao Atta Ahin. He's vice chairman, actually, of the Coalition of NGOs in Water and Sanitation. Staying with sanitation, stakeholders at the launch of the National Sanitation Campaign by President Akufo-Addo have called for attitudinal change if the country is to move up from the unenviable 7th worst position on the world ranking as far as sanitation issues are concerned. The stakeholders spoke to Joy News after the launch of the national campaign by President Akufo-Addo at the State House Monday afternoon.
From our perspective, Ghana being ranked 7th worst in the world in terms of access to basic sanitation, to toilets, is horrifying. You look at the state of development in Ghana, there is no excuse for that. Sanitation was the worst performing of the MDGs. And in the worst performing MDG, Ghana was 7th worst in the world. 7th worst. The other countries in there are countries like Somalia, countries like South Sudan. You're seeing a trend here. These are not countries that Ghana aspires to being at the same level as. At current rates, in 90 years, we'll be open defecation free. 90 years at the current rates.
We want to induce communities so they can start construction of latrines. So we are targeting something around 20,000 latrines. And you know, 20,000 latrines for households. The target is that households must have latrine. Now, if households have latrine, then open defecation will end. And these are inducements we are injecting into communities so that once it catch up, they themselves can also construct. And we are doing this in 6 regions. We are doing this in Upper East, Upper West, Northern region, Central region, Western region, and Brown Hafo region. If you look at the character of these regions, they are one of the poorest. The open defecation is quite high. In the northern part of Ghana, it's as high as 89% in Upper East. And you heard a story that was told by our minister already, and we have to find ways to reduce it.
This launch has been way long overdue. We had already taken the steps of making sure we convert plastic waste, in particular, or add value to plastic waste. So years back, we did organize the stakeholders, as in all those who are using plastic packaging in one way or the other, for their packages. And we started recycling initially with the flexibles, that is the sachet water waste. Today in Ghana, we almost converting over 120,000 kilos of plastic waste.
Well, we're taking a break here on Joy News Prime, but still to come, minority MPs paint gloomy picture of the Ghanaian economy and warn the country would experience extreme hardship next year as a result of the Kufuor-Addo-led government's poor management of the economy.
Next year, let us be assured that there is going to be unfortunate, severe austerity equivalent to 1983. Unfortunate. We should expect that.
The majority side has however countered the claims by the minority. And also in business, which comes up next, economist Dr. Joe Abe charges Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to be moderate with 2018 budget targets and ensure value for money. Stay tuned, we'll be back in a bit.
Hello, welcome to Business on Joy News Prime. We begin with the 2018 budget due to be presented on Wednesday. And economist Dr. Joe Abe has some word of advice for the finance minister. The economist is asking the finance minister to be modest with macroeconomic targets to be set out for next year. The country over the years has always struggled to meet revenue, growth and expenditure targets set out in the budget, resulting in some of these estimates being reviewed 6 months after presentation. But Dr. Abe has maintained that this development does not help in consolidating investor confidence in the economy. Speaking to Joy Business as part of our 2018 Budget Watch series, the economist pushed for value for money in government's whole expenditure agenda for next year.
There are these types of things where the law, the technicalities may provide answers. But you listen to some of these things and you ask yourself, who really understands what these political leaders are talking about? The most recent ones about the energy bond. You hear all manner of technical, super technical explanations about why this happened. In April, we had a similar debate about whether there was conflict of interest and so on. So they sit down and they are talking. And a lot of us don't understand what exactly is it that they are talking about. So we need to carry the people. We in civil society, we, the true owners of the business, these are appointed managers. We, the true owners, must hold ourselves to account. We must set realistic targets, because if the embarrassment and the costs come, the impact on our lives, it requires sitting down, looking at what is realistic, be able to hold ourselves to that, so that it is not some people coming with their interests who tell us, if you don't give me this, I won't do that. That any Ghanaian will find reason to be like rejoicing about the fact that we tried to float a bond and it flopped. This is something we as Ghanaians must be saying, what are the implications? What can we do? What did we do wrong? It's not somebody, it's we. So we should reach a point where if genuinely there were things that were technically not correct about an action, we shouldn't go and do it and decide who is to blame. It is our responsibility to deepen our understanding of the opportunities and also the risks that are in our way.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Finance Kweku Kwarteng has ruled out tax hikes in the 2018 budget. There are fears that government may look at the option of increasing taxes to make up for the current revenue shortfalls. The Deputy Finance Minister, however, says they would be using technology in improving tax collections.
We are deploying technology. In fact, if you look at the tax stamps, there's an important IT element in it. The economic point of sale device is to ensure that as people trade at points of sale, the records of their businesses are actually registered on the server for GRA, so that we are not now come to you to make to file your returns, and then we need to debate you on how much, and sometimes these are not properly declared and government lose revenue. This time round, as you trade, they register on the tax authorities server, and so we just come to you to say these are your tax liabilities you need to pay. So we're going to deploy technology to ensure that the compliance measures work and that we will not have the need to increase taxes, and I would rather have the opportunity to abolish more taxes as we rake in more revenue.
Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng there giving us some insight into what to expect as we look ahead to the budget presentation on Wednesday. But let's refresh our memories a bit. Here are some highlights of the 2016 budget. Well, President Akufo-Addo has also been giving some insight into the 2018 budget, which would focus on industrialization, agriculture, and human capital. The president is also promising significant reduction in youth unemployment in the country from next year. Answering questions at the Bloomberg Africa Business Conference, the president said these policies are going to be implemented in a way that would help transform the economy.
What we're doing here in Ghana is trying to focus the attention of our young people on two key areas of our national life, because we believe that improvements in the development of these two key areas is in fact the key to a future prosperous Ghana. One, the development of our agriculture, and secondly, of course, of our industrial development. And the two main programs that we have launched, one is the public sector program. We have something we call the Youth Employment Agency, which is responsible for harnessing youth in several areas of publicly supported activities. I mean, the agency this year is poised to complete the year by employing some 60,000 people. Then you have the private sector initiative that is also supported by the public sector. We have a national entrepreneurship and innovation plan, and we've been able to establish with a relatively modest seed figure of some $10 million United States dollars, whose job it is to identify startup businesses by young people, businesses that are going in the early stages, and support them. Support them not just with money, but with assessing technical assistance, generally improving the quality in which they can do their businesses.
Moving on, diversify your economy and strengthen state institutions, and that could help sustain the projected pickup in economic growth rate. That's the advice coming from the visiting IMF Deputy Director in charge of research, Gian Maria Melisi Ferretti. This follows the forecast by the fund that Ghana's economic growth would reach 8.9% by the end of next year. It is also forecasting some significant economic growth over the next couple of years. Melissa Ferretti tells Joy Business it is crucial that these measures are implemented for these projections to be realized.
higher commodity prices clearly help for commodity exporters. And with a pickup in global demand, we see that commodity prices are rising. But it is very easy to have those resources being wasted in good times. So it is very important to ensure that the economy has the incentives to stay diversified, because it is great if you have more oil production, but clearly employment-wise, this is not a sector that is going to resolve sort of a big increase in the workforce population as most of the countries in the region are going to have. It's a very capital-intensive business. It's very important to lay the conditions for the birth of firms that are able to employ young and educated workers and provide a more diversified structure for the economy. And how one achieves that, well, business climate is important, but also a fair tax system that does not overly rely on one sector and that creates enough revenue so that the government can do those investments in strengthening infrastructure, in improving the education system that will make the workforce of tomorrow more productive than the one of today.
And that's it for business. The news continues after this break.
Minority MPs on Monday delivered a damning verdict on the Kufuor-led government's management of the Ghanaian economy, warning the country will next year experience one of the most difficult times in its history. At a forum in Parliament, Minority spokesperson on Finance Cassel Atuforsing said next year's hardship could be likened to the famine Ghanaians had to endure in 1983. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has more.
Atuforsing told the media the banking sector is in distress and will not be able to provide finances to ensure job creation, claiming this will lead to hardship.
You will recall, ladies and gentlemen, that after the collapse of UT Bank and Capital Bank, the Bank of Ghana approved a purchase and assumption transaction between GCB and Bank of Ghana. Indeed, our information suggests that the assuming bank, in this case Ghana Commercial Bank, will be receiving about 2 billion Ghana cedis worth of government bonds as an equivalent of, which is an equivalent of 1% of GDP to balance its assets and liabilities.
The minority is again predicting Ghana will soon be declared HIPC because of the ballooning national debt.
When the energy bond and the capital bank bond, UT capital bank bond is added, the debt to GDP will rise to 76.8% from 72.5%. Ghana is gradually heading towards HIPC. Ladies and gentlemen, don't be surprised that by end of 2019, we are declared HIPC.
He is further predicting that there will be no major development project next year as a result of the economic challenges.
Don't expect that your roads in your constituencies will be fixed. The contractors who are working at various ministries, from Ministry of Roads, from Ministry of Works and Housing to infrastructure ministries, I pity, in fact, I sympathize with you. The situation is getting bad. Next year, let us be assured that there is going to be unfortunate, severe austerity equivalent to 1983. Unfortunate. We should expect that.
The minority is also claiming government intends to increase taxes on low-income earners, including a new tax on mobile money transactions.
The intention to tax mobile money transaction must be aborted immediately. Since it constitutes a serious threat to financial inclusion and economic growth in Ghana. It is also regressive. It is an indirect way of taxing transactions such as transfers of school fees and mobile monies, medical bills in particular. The NPP must provide some relief to low-income families from this chop money transfer tax, I will call it.
Well, the majority has disputed the minority's claims. Deputy Majority Chief Whip Matthew Yindam says the gloomy projections are baseless.
There is nothing like HIPC returning. Wednesday, God's willing, the man in charge, Ken Ofori-Atta, will be delivering in the House. You will be there. I will be there. The budget will be live. I am telling you that, look, if Nana Addo and the MPP government will not transform Ghana positively, I doubt the kind of leadership that NDC will bring. And I don't know when. But I am telling you that if Nana Addo don't transform Ghana, I don't see NDC doing anything. They've just been booted out. How long? We all saw the suffering that we went through. Ghanaians saw the suffering. All the most social interventions that people were quishing with, they were all destroyed under NDC. I don't want to compare Nana Addo's government to NDC government. Look, I am telling you that we are poised to do the best. And that is what we promised the people of this country. And that is exactly what we are going to do.
It's your position that all the promises that were outlined in the budget last year have actually been delivered,
look,
1 year down the line?
Look, the most important things we talked about, the free secondary school education, we are on. We've done it. The training colleges allowances, we have done it. The nursing training college allowances, we have done it. They are talking about the $1 million per each constituency. I am telling you that we are working on the authorities because we wouldn't want to give the money to individual MPs, individual DCs to go and mismanage. And we are forming the authority. See, it is a process and you have seen it. Tell me we are not doing the authorities. Then you say we have failed because in the budget, in the manifesto, we say we are forming authorities. And these authorities are going to manage the money. Gakpo, what do you want Nana Addo to do?
But what can we expect next year, 2018? They are predicting doom and gloom.
The opposition. Let them keep predicting doom. Are you getting me? I am happy because next year is 2018. You will not die. I will not die. They will not die. They will live to see 2018 and onwards to 2019, and we'll beat them 2020 and move on to 2024. That's what we are going to do.
My final clarification would be, they say you are introducing tax on mobile money transactions, which they think will be terrible for the Ghanaian economy, and they are cautioning the finance minister against that. You are a member of the finance committee. You are part of leadership. Is this happening as far as the budget?
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen anything. And finance minister can never come and introduce a tax without our approval. Okay? Because tax is about we representing the people approving before he can put it in the budget.
Will you kick against it personally if he comes with such a suggestion?
I am telling you that we started our government by reducing taxes that we call nuisance taxes. We have done that. Look, my brother, I don't expect NDC to praise us. For that one, I agree with them. But I'm telling you that the vast majority of Ghanaians are happy with what we are doing. And exactly that's what we're going to do, and do it better.
Staying in Parliament, MPs of the opposition National Democratic Congress are demanding an apology from President Akufo-Addo. Reason, they accuse him of double standards after he recently endorsed the chairman of the Jospong Group of Companies, Joseph Sian Agyapong, whose company has been at the center of some corruption scandals in Ghana. The MPP leader, whilst in opposition, means no words about the various acts of corruption they claim the company was involved in. But addressing management and staff of the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant and Waste Transfer Station, a subsidiary of the Jospong Group of Companies, last week, the president commended Dr. Agyapong. Deputy Minority Leader James Kluche Aveji says the president must apologize for changing his stance on the issue.
The president himself will be the best person to explain why he has shifted from the position that he held previously against Jospong to a new position, now praising Jospong out of doing a good thing. Which means that all that he said in the past were all not true, were things that probably said because of politics. In fact, the former president or the former government worked with Jospong because of the good thing that he was doing. So if those days he condemned Jospong and now he realized that Jospong is doing a good thing, I think that he, the president, is the best person who should respond to this issue. Because if Jospong was corrupt, is he prepared now to work with a corrupt man as a president? If Jospong was corrupt in the past, is he, the president, now ready to partner and work with a corrupt man? Then you also be tempted to be a corrupt person. So I think that the president himself is the best person to respond to this question.
Do you get a sense that some level of display of hypocrisy on the part of the MPP when it comes to their dealings with Jospong?
MPP is very good in shifting positions.
This
is Joy News Prime.
Now, the LPG Marketing Companies Association of Ghana is asking government to implement the yet-to-be-introduced cylinder recirculation module on a pilot basis before finally rolling it out across the country. Speaking to Joy News, Vice Chairman of the association, Gabi Kumi, noted they would rather the system, which they describe as much more dangerous than the current system, is not considered, but government should give Ghanaians the opportunity to choose which system is safer and more convenient without imposing any specific module on them. He first touched on the outcome of the meeting with the Energy Committee of Parliament last week.
We went and presented our position to our honourable members. We feel that the current model we are running is a very good model. Yes, we agree that there has been a lot of lapses in terms of safety, and we'll be bold enough to take part of the blame. But it's a whole systemic thing. It's not only us. It's a whole industry thing. We think our authorities have also not been forthcoming with very stringent measures to ensure that we curtail some of these explosions. So we told them that, look, we feel the current model is the best if we reinforce it with very rigid safety regime. No matter the policy you bring, even if you go and bring policy from heaven, if you don't really emphasize on safety and make sure that you introduce very rigid safety measures to curtail explosions, these explosions will by all means occur. So we told the MPs that we think the current model is the best and it should be reinforced for us to continue doing business. But in the event that the government is not going to listen to us and still wants to introduce the cylinder recirculation, we will advise that they first pilot test it over a year or two and allow the two systems to run side by side for some years. We believe that competition, market forces, and discerning Ghanaians will kick the ineffective system out if the two systems are allowed to run side by side.
Explaining why they embarked on a safety campaign across the country in the aftermath of the Medina atomic gas explosion, only to abandon it, Mr. Kumi said the exercise revealed where they as distributors went wrong and have taken steps to rectify that.
We have identified the causes of the problem to be during the discharge process. So we know that, and I think the authorities also, the audit is ongoing. As I said, we've identified the independent electronic discharge pump to be the solution to the explosions. And that is what we've encouraged all our members to fix at their various stations. In fact, we've given our members up to 1st of January. Any member that has not fixed this independent electronic discharge pumps in your station will be closed down, because that is the source of the explosion. The only unfortunate thing is that these pumps are imported. So when we gave the directive that all our members should fix the pumps, the fuels that were in the system were run out. The members went for them, bought them, and installed them. As I speak to you now, between 50 and 60% of our stations have these pumps well fitted. I know Joy FM is Joy News. You are very good at investigations. You can go around Accra and across the country and check this for yourselves. We spoke to the supplier who has given us about 6 weeks to get some of these pumps in town. So we've given our members, we are expecting the pumps somewhere in the middle of next month, in December. And once we get it, it will take us a matter of days to fix them. So we've given our members up to the 1st of January to ensure that every station, about 650 stations we have across the country, are well fitted with these pumps.
The German North District Hospital in the Brahafo region is really under intense pressure due to over-patronage of the facility located at Sampa. Unfortunately, the hospital lacks good infrastructure and space for an outpatient department. Joy News' Nestor Kafuya-Joma visited Sampa and has more in the following report.
German North 87-bed capacity district hospital caters for an estimated population of 98,227. Patients from border towns in Ivory Coast also cross over to use the facility, exerting intense pressure on the hospital. The hospital administration block, drug production room, general stores and pharmacy stores are located 2 kilometers away from newly constructed hospital wards, making it tiresome for facility users to commute between the two facilities. The acting medical superintendent, Dr. Philip Ta Amuaku, wants a total upgrade of infrastructure to meet standards of a district hospital.
German North District Hospital was upgraded to a district hospital about 13 years ago. Since this upgrade to a district hospital, we had to move from our old health center to the current location, and that was after almost 5 to 6 years when we had donations, these infrastructural donations from these philanthropists, and that has been very helpful. However, because we haven't had a capital investment in our infrastructure, there are so many deficits in what we have, and that is hampering quality care delivery in the facility. What we think we need is a whole capital investment into the facility so that we can get an upgrade of our structures, we can get standard structures in order to ensure quality care delivery.
The hospital's laundry room has developed serious cracks in the walls and the ceiling is in bad shape. Laundry machines have been donated to the hospital, but they are not being used because the room is too small to house the machines.
Due to the absence of a structure we can use as our outpatient department, we had to convert the structure behind me to the outpatient department instead of the VCT center. Because the structure is not spacious enough, we had to construct a container to my right here to be used as the records unit.
The hospital needs modern laboratory equipment, physiotherapy units, isolation ward, and staff housing units. In spite of the challenges, the hospital was adjudged National Best Hospital for Project 5 Alive and Best Hospital in Clinical Care at the 2016 Brong Ahafo Regional Peer Review Meeting. Mr. Kafri Ajuma, Joy News, Sampa.
The youth of Assin Dompim in the Assin Central constituency of the Central Region are pleading with the Ministry of Trade and Industry to establish a kente weaving factory in the area. They believe such a factory will be the most viable business under the One District, One Factory program, especially because it will help arrest rising youth unemployment in the area. Adum News' Alfred Amos sent in the following report.
Statistics gathered by Adum News indicate that 3 out of every 5 young men in Assin Dompim are kente weavers. But lack of working capital has made it impossible for them to enjoy full benefit of their craftsmanship, hence the plea on government. According to them, establishing a kente factory in Assin Dompim will not only reduce unemployment, but will also portray the rich Ghanaian culture and boost local tourism.
You and I know that if you want to go to number 100, you will start from 1. But it seems that we have been in the position that we are not progressing. So we are appealing to the government to help us with finance. And the initiative that he has come with, One District, One Factory, should be focused here in our Central, that you will invest more in the kente weaving.
We will be very happy if Nana Addo, the president, will help us or will improve this our work so that it becomes one of the factories that he have aimed at in Ghana. So we are appealing to the government that he help us so that we can get one of the factory as the kente factory in Assin Dompim.
Jedu Ankoma is a kente weaver. He employs 47 people at a mini kente weaving center in Assin Dompim. He wants government to use a public-private partnership arrangement to enable him expand his business and subsequently employ more young people in the area.
We plead with the government to extend the One District, One Factory program to Assin Dompim. A lot of the youth here have shown interest in weaving kente. That is the only job available here. We are of a view that if the One District, One Factory program is extended to Assin Dompim, the kente weaving industry will flourish.
Alfred Amos reports for Joy News.
Police in the Northern Region arrested two third-year intermediate students of the Tamale Technical University for allegedly killing a Tamale-based pastor. They are suspected to have stabbed and clubbed to death 64-year-old Okran Ebenezer of the End Time Believers Fellowship at his home. The two, Doji Kwame, 28, and Akwesi Obio, 21, reportedly took away a blue Toyota Highlander and some undisclosed amount of money. Northern Regional Police Commander ACP Patrick Tapo narrated the incident as a news briefing in Tamale.
At about 3 p.m., police had information of a Toyota Highlander vehicle which has been sent to Tamale industrial area for restraining and thereafter for sale at a cost of 20,000 Ghana cedis. Detectives were dispatched to the industrial area and located the said vehicle having been left with a mechanic. The team feigned interest in buying the car and requested for a test drive. During the test drive, the team drove the vehicle to the police station where it was kept, whilst communication with the supposed owner began through a telephone number he left with the mechanic. At 10 p.m. the same day, Ben Asamoah, a pastor of the End Time Believers Fellowship at Kumbiyiri near Mashegu, on the Kumbugu Road, reported to the police that he visited the deceased pastor Ebenezer Okran, who was the head pastor of the same fellowship, but found him murdered in his house. He continued that he also found his Toyota Highlander vehicle number GN 1763-14 not in the house, and therefore suspected that the murderers might have stolen it. Police then realized that the vehicle which was offered for sale belonged to the deceased pastor Ebenezer Okran. Investigations then began into the murder case and also to identify the supposed owner of the vehicle. Members of the press, in the morning of 11th November 2017, the supposed owner and seller of the vehicle called the policeman who had feigned interest to buy the vehicle to remove the carrier on the vehicle and the number plate before test driving the said vehicle in Tamale. This was done and more communication went on between them. It was through this that suspect Kwame Doji, aged 24 years, and a third-year electrical student of Tamale Technical Institute was arrested. He mentioned his accomplice, he mentioned his cousin, suspect Obio Akwesi, 21 years, also a third-year electrical student of the same institute, as his accomplice.
Paramount Chief of the Yilo Klo Traditional Area, Oklepeme Nue, Nobasa Saraku II, has accused the Eastern Regional Security Council, REDSEC, of conspiring with others to foment trouble. His claim follows reports that an injunction has been placed on the celebration of this year's Kloyo Sikpulemi Festival over fears of a possible clash. Though a motion filed by REDSEC at the Koforidua High Court to put the festivities on hold will be heard on Wednesday, the Paramount Chief is convinced it is an attempt to bring chaos. Correspondent Kwame Yanka reports.
We should follow rule of law. They should rather see to...
Addressing the media at Somanya, Oklepeme Nue Anoba Sasraku II insists the traditional area is peaceful. He, however, suspects attempts to mar a peaceful celebration. He is therefore urging the REDSEC not to destabilize the area.
We've been celebrating Kloyo Sikpulemi Festival, even in the midst of the chieftaincy problem, but there have not been anything. The fact that we as chiefs, we will say is that we are beginning to see this as purely some kind of conspiracy between some people who doesn't have good heart for the celebration and who just want to throw dust in the eyes of the people, conspiring with the REDSEC to come out with this issue that there is problem Yilo. There's no problem in Yilo. We asked them, they should come, they should prove to us where the problems are coming from.
Meanwhile, Oklepeminoe Anoba Sasraku II says the missed signal is robbing residents financial gains.
Now, as we speak, people come to us, they are crying because they have already engaged themselves in certain trades. They have already made certain orders. Some of them have even picked loans from different banks because of the celebration to trade and to make some money for their families. And now you, RESEC, you are coming in with some kind of, excuse me to say, weak pronouncement that there is problem in Yilo. Because there's nothing in Yilo. So we are telling the whole Ghana that Yilo is very peaceful. Business is going on. People are going out. They are coming in without any threat, without any fear, without any panic.
Some residents, including traders who spoke to Joy News, say they have injected some capital into their businesses ahead of the festival.
Like omunyan kambo na festival yen maso na youth na yen so ye pese yen ye adwuma no yen ye kakra bi wo krom na is like mine no so manya district no en so e koso even some avoji loan I got top every week because you in Nigeria say 4 8 6 c'est so pa no ba. It is going for cancer, close when Basso on there, and Trono or Mocha. Say, Master, be high. Yanyama be blego, 90 year pamucha, Mumma Maso Maye, Nayana, Yanji, because as you go, Colombia could talk be any.
The area patiently awaits the court's decision on Wednesday. Kwame Yanka's report for Joy News.